Ladies and gentlemen, tennis fans from around the globe, and especially the passionate legion of supporters in the Philippines, welcome. We are standing on the precipice of history. We are hours away from a collision that is not just a tennis match. It is a cultural event, a moment of national reckoning, and potential turning point in the career of one of the brightest young stars in the sport. The headline screaming across the tennis world today is one of anticipation, of tension, and of a brewing storm that threatens to upend the hierarchy of the WTA Challenger Circuit. The headline reads, "Ho, Russia's shocked. Alexandra Eala will explode Alina Kuriva." Now, that is a bold statement. That is a declaration of war on the tennis court. But as we peel back the layers of this matchup, as we look at the venue, the history, and the sheer volatility of the moment, you begin to realize that this is not hyperbole. This is a reality of the pressure cooker that is the Philippine Women's Open. Here is the situation. Alexandra Eala, the pride of the Philippines, the world number 49 and the highest-ranked Filipina tennis player in history, is coming home. For the first time since she was a 12-year-old prodigy, before the Rafa Nadal Academy, before the junior Grand Slams, before professional breakthroughs, she is playing a competitive tournament on her own soil. And not just any tournament. The first ever WTA 125 event hosted in Manila. The Rizal Memorial Tennis Center is expected to be a cauldron of noise, a fortress of support that few players on the tour ever experience. But standing in her way is a player who knows exactly how to dismantle the Eala game. Standing in her way is Alina Kuriva, the Russian powerhouse, the six-time ITF champion. A woman who has looked Alex Eala in the eye before and walked away the victor. Make no mistake, the Russian Tennis Federation and Kuriva's camp are not coming to Manila to hand over a trophy. They are coming to spoil the party. Kuriva, ranked 163rd in the world, is a dangerous, battle-hardened veteran of the ITF circuit. She is a player who thrives in the trenches, a grinder who has lifted trophies on clay and hard courts alike. She holds a 1-0 head-to-head record against Eala, having beaten her decisively in Spain back in 2020. She knows she can win. She believes she has the psychological edge. However, the shock that our headline alludes to is not about the past. It is about the transformation of Alex Eala. The Alex Eala of 2026 is not the junior player Kuriva beat 6 years ago. We are talking about a top 50 player who has gone toe-to-toe with Grand Slam champions. We are talking about a young woman who just walked off the courts of the Australian Open, bruised perhaps by a first-round loss to Alicia Parks, but hungry, starving for redemption. The narrative building in Manila is one of explosion. Analysts are predicting that Eala is going to unleash a level of aggression and firepower that Kuriva is simply not equipped to handle on a fast, hard court. The shock for Russia will be the sheer disparity in class that has developed over the last few years. Eala has ascended to the main tour. Kuriva is still fighting to get there. But tennis is not played on paper. It is played between the lines, and Kuriva has the game to frustrate, to extend rallies, and to force the young Filipina into errors under the crushing weight of home expectations. Imagine the scene. The humidity of Manila, the deafening roar of the home crowd every time Eala hits a winner, and the icy resolve of the Russian looking to silence them all. This is more than a round of 32 match. This is a statement game. If Eala wins, she validates the hype and ignites a tennis boom in Southeast Asia. If Kuriva wins, she sends a shockwave through the draw and reminds the world that rankings mean nothing when the ball is in play. We're looking at a classic David versus Goliath setup, but with a twist, the Goliath here is a young home favorite, and David is the experienced Russian spoiler. The title says Eala will explode, and that is the key verb. Will she explode with winners, dominating the court with her lefty spin and newfound power? Or will she explode under the pressure, giving Kuriva the opening she needs? For the next hour, we are going deep. We are going to analyze the biomechanics of Eala's forehand compared to Kuriva's backhand defense. We are going to look at the meteorological conditions in Manila and how they favor the fitter player. We are going to dissect the mental state of a 20-year-old superstar carrying the hopes of 115 million people. And we're going to ask a hard question. Can Alina Kuriva, the six-time ITF champion, pull off the upset of the year, or is she walking into a buzzsaw? Stay tuned. This is a deep dive. This is a breakdown. This is Eala versus Kuriva. Let us transition now into the meat of this matchup. To understand why the specific round of 32 clash at the WDA 125 Manila is generating such seismic waves, we must first deconstruct the two combatants. We need to understand not just who they are, but how they play, where they come from, and what this match represents in the arc of their respective careers. Part 1. The Empress at Home, Alexandra Eala. Let's start with the protagonist of this drama, Alexandra Eala. If you have been following women's tennis, you know the trajectory. A junior prodigy, a graduate of the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, a U.S. Open junior champion. But the transition from junior star to WTA professional is the most treacherous path in sports. Thousands fail. Alex Eala has not failed. She has thrived. Entering this tournament, Eala sits at a career-high ranking of roughly number 49 in the world. That number is significant. It puts her in the elite bracket. It grants her direct entry into Grand Slams. It means she is no longer a prospect. She is a contender. However, context is everything. Eala arrives in Manila fresh off a sting at the Australian Open in Melbourne. She faced the big-serving American, Alicia Parks, in the first round. Eala took the first set 6-0, a bagel. She looked imperious. But then, the power of Parks took over, and Eala lost in 3 sets. That loss stings. It hurts. And usually, a player has time to go away, hide, and practice. Eala does not have that luxury. She has flown directly to Manila to headline the biggest women's sporting event in the country's history. The pressure on her shoulders is unquantifiable. In tennis, playing at home is a double-edged sword. We saw it with Ash Barty in Australia, with Andy Murray in Britain. The crowd can lift you, but they can also suffocate you. Eala is 20 years old. She is expected to not just win, but to dominate. She is the number 2 seed in this tournament. The expectation is a final against the top seed, Tatiana Maria. Anything less than a trophy lift will feel like a disappointment to the casual fan. Tactically, Eala's game has evolved. She is a lefty, which is her greatest natural asset. That cross-court forehand, dripping with topspin, pulls right-handed opponents off the court, opening up the line for winners. Against a player like Kuriva, this pattern is going to be critical. Eala needs to use a Nadal blueprint. Heavy spin to the opponent's backhand, with him down, and then flatten out the shot for kill. But the question mark remains her serve. It has improved. Speeds are up, but under pressure, can she hit her spots? Against Parks in Australia, the serve wavered when the Americans started attacking. Kuriva is not a power hitter like Parks, but she is a returner. She will put the ball in play. Eala will have to win this match from the baseline, and that requires patience, a virtue she is still mastering. Part 2, the Russian spoiler, Alina Kuriva. Now, let us look at the antagonist in this narrative, and I use that term strictly in competitive sense. Alina Kuriva. Do not let the ranking of 163 fool you. In the world of women's tennis, the gap between number 50 and number 160 is often smaller than it appears on paper. It is often a matter of a few key points in a few key matches. Kuriva is 23 years old, 3 years Eala's senior. She was a finalist at the French Open Juniors in 2020, the same year she beat Eala. She has pedigree. The headline calls her the 6-time ITF champion. Let's break down what that means. The ITF circuit is a grinding stone of tennis. It is unglamorous. You play in small towns, for small prize money, often with outline judges or ball kids. To win 6 titles at that level requires a specific kind of mental toughness. It means you know how to win ugly. It means you don't beat yourself. Kuriva's game is built on Russian fundamentals. Flat, hard ground strokes, exceptional movement, and a refusal to miss. She is a counterpuncher who can transition to offense. She recently reached a career-high ranking of 142 in late 2025. She is on an upward trajectory. She is not a journeywoman on the decline. She is a hungry player trying to break into the top 100. And here's the shock factor. Kuriva has absolutely nothing to lose. The entire stadium will be against her. The media is ignoring her. The pressure is zero. That makes her dangerous. She can swing freely. She knows she beat Eala before. Yes, it was 2020. Yes, it was on clay. But psychologically, when she looks across the net, she doesn't see a top 50 superstar. She sees a girl she beat 6-3. 6-3 in Spain. That memory is a weapon. Part 3. The tactical battlefield. How does this match play out on the court? The surface at the Rizal Memorial Tennis Center is an outdoor hard court. Historically, these courts in Southeast Asia play medium slow due to the humidity and the heat, but the new resurfacing might make them zip. If the court is fast, advantage Eala. Her aggressive, first strike tennis will be rewarded. She needs to keep the points short. Explode is the right word. She cannot get into a 20-shot rally war with Kuriva. Kuriva is a wall. If Eala tries to outgrind the Russian, she risks fatigue and unforced errors. Eala's strategy must be serve wide, forehand to the corner, drive volley, 1-2 punch. If the court is slow and humidity is high, the advantage shifts slightly toward Kuriva's consistency. The heavy air makes the ball travel slower, making it harder to hit winners. This forces Eala to hit one extra shot, then another. That is where the errors creep in. The weather is the third player on the court. Manila in January is more pleasant than May, but it is still tropical. We are looking at 28 to 30 degrees Celsius with high humidity. Kuriva is from Samara, Russia. She trains in Europe. Adapting to the heavy air of Manila in just a few days is a physiological challenge. Eala, despite training in Spain, has Filipino blood and has spent time in this climate. She should handle the heat better, but the adrenaline dump of playing at home can cause cramping and fatigue just as fast as the heat can. Part 4. The revenge narrative. Let's go back to that 2020 match. ITF Spain. Clay court. Kuriva wins straight sets. Eala was 15. Kuriva was 18. Why does this matter? Because Eala is a fierce competitor. She remembers her losses. That loss was a check on her rise. Now, she gets to rectify it. This is a classic student becomes a master scenario, except they are peers. The whole Russia shocked aspect of our title suggests that the Russian tennis community views Kuriva as a solid favorite to hold her own. Russian tennis schools produce incredibly disciplined players. They might look at Eala's lefty spin and think, "We eat that for breakfast." They might look at Eala's recent loss to Alicia Parks and see vulnerability. She collapses under power. They might say, but Eala's explosion will come from her ability to mix up the play. She has developed a drop shot. She is coming to the net more. If she can disrupt Kuriva's rhythm, pulling her forward and pushing her back, the Russian's flat hitting zone will crumble. Kuriva likes the ball in her strike zone, waist height. Eala's heavy topspin forehand jumps above the shoulder. If Eala hits her forehand deep and high, Kuriva will have to hit the ball on the rise or back up. Both are uncomfortable positions. That is a tactical key, the Eala forehand versus the Kuriva strike zone. Part 5. The significance of the moment. We must also discuss what a win here means. This is a Philippine Women's Open. It is a historic milestone. For decades, the Philippines was a tennis backwater compared to Japan, China, or Thailand. Now, they have a legitimate star. If Eala explodes and destroys Kuriva, let's say 6-2, 6-1, it sends a message to the locker room. It says, I am the queen of this court. This is my house. It terrifies the other players in the draw. It solidifies her seeding. But if it's a dogfight, if it goes 3 sets, then doubts creep in. The shock would be Kuriva's silence in the crowd. Imagine the silence in Rizal Memorial. If Kuriva takes the first set, you could hear a pin drop. That is the drama we are signed up for. We are watching the collision of 2 different tennis worlds. The WTA Elite Eala, world number 49, versus the ITF grinder Kuriva, world number 163. The gap in ranking points is massive. Over 800 points separate them. But on the day, in the heat, with the nerves, they are equals. Kuriva has won 6 ITF titles. She knows how to close matches. If Eala gets tight, if the yips on her serve appear because she's afraid to disappoint her grandmother in the front row, Kuriva has the experience to pounce. She won't panic. She has played 280-plus professional matches. She has seen it all. However, the prediction of an explosion is based on form. Eala's form, despite the AUS Open loss, is high. Her ball striking stats are top tier. Her return of serve percentage is climbing. Against Kuriva's serve, which is serviceable but not overpowering, Eala should be able to dictate points immediately off the return. Look for Eala to step inside the baseline on Kuriva's second serve. If you see Eala taking the ball early, cutting off the angle, that is a sign that the explosion is happening. If you see her retreating 5 feet behind the baseline, looping the ball back, then she is playing Kuriva's game, and we are in for a long night. As we begin to wrap up this extensive analysis, let us zoom out and look at the broader picture. Regardless of the scoreline, the match between Alexandra Eala and Alina Kuriva is a watershed moment. For Alexandra Eala, this is the beginning of her homecoming era. She has spent her adolescence in Europe, training, grinding, being the lonely warrior abroad. Now, she brings the fruits of that labor back to Manila. A victory here is not just about moving to the round of 16. It is about validating the sacrifices made by her and her family. It is about showing the next generation of Filipino kids that you can be world-class. If she explodes past Kuriva, she sets the tone for a tournament run that could see her lift her first WTA 125 trophy on home soil. That image, Eala holding the trophy in Manila, will be iconic. For Alina Kuriva, this is the ultimate audition. To beat a top 50 player in her home country, that is the kind of win that jumpstarts a career. That is the kind of win that gets you sponsors, that gives you the belief to crack the top 100 yourself. Even if she loses, if she pushes Eala to the limit, she proves she belongs on this stage. The whole rush is shocked. Headline works both ways. Shocked by her victory, or perhaps shocked by the sheer ruthlessness of Eala's game, the Filipina brings her best level. The explosion we are predicting is one of talent meeting opportunity. Eala has the weapons. She has the lefty advantage. She has the crowd. But sports are beautiful because they are unscripted. The ball can hit the net cord. The line call can be close. The sun can get in your eyes. But here's my final verdict. The difference in class between world number 49 and world number 163 exists for a reason. Eala plays at a speed, miles per hour on her shots, that Kuriva does not see every week on the ITF circuit. The shock for Kuriva will be the weight of shot coming from Eala's racket. Unless Kuriva plays a match of her life or Eala crumbles under the emotional weight of the occasion, the Filipina should overpower the Russian. I expect a tight first set as Eala manages her nerves, followed by a runaway second set as she finds her rhythm. We are witnessing the maturation of a star. And sometimes, stars have to go through the fire. Kuriva is the fire, Eala is the steel. And in Manila, we will see if the steel is tempered or if it melts. To all the fans watching, do not blink. This is not just a round of 32 match. This is the main event. This is the battle for Manila. So, what is the next step for you? If you want to stay ahead of the curve on the rising stars of the WTA and follow every twist and turn of Alexandra Eala's historic home campaign, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. We will be breaking down the post-match stats, the press conference quotes, and the tactical adjustments for the next round immediately after the final ball is hit. Don't just watch the tennis. Understand the story behind the swing. I'm your host, signing off. The court is ready. The players are ready. Let the games begin.